I'd like to talk to you today about Alzheimer's, and the DSM-5 classifies that as a neurocognitive disorder. This presentation is for my MHT class with Bonnie Cole, Mental Health and Aging, right here at KVCC in Maine, spring semester 2017. So what is Alzheimer's? It is a neurocognitive disorder that usually appears in someone's mid-60s. It's irreversible and it affects people's cognitive functioning, such as thinking, reasoning, or remembering. Behavioral abilities tend to decline as well, which interfere with people's daily life and activities. Alzheimer's was named in 1906 after Dr. Louise Alzheimer noted changes in the brain tissue of a woman who had died of an unusual mental illness. Her symptoms had been memory loss, language problems, and unpredictable behavior. This doctor found clumps and tangles of fibers in her brain after she had died. These are now known as amyloid plaques and tangles. As you can see above, advanced Alzheimer's also shows a shrinkage in the brain. According to the National Institute on Aging, the plaques and tangles in the brain are still considered some of the main features of Alzheimer's disease. Another feature is the loss of connections between nerve cells, which is neurons, that are in the brain. The neurons are to transmit messages between different parts of the brain and from the brain to the muscles and organs of the body. It seems likely that damage in the brain starts decades before memory and other cognitive problems. Abnormal deposits of proteins form amyloid plaques and tangles throughout the brain. The once healthy neurons now stop functioning, lose connections with other neurons, and die. Damage initially appears in the hippocampus, which is the part of the brain essentially used in forming memories. As additional parts of the brain are affected, they shrink. In the final stages of Alzheimer's, the damage is so widespread the brain tissue has shrunk significantly. Researchers are studying the biomarkers of Alzheimer's. The biological signs of the disease found in the brain, according to the National Institute on Aging, would be the brain images, the cerebral spinal fluid, and blood. That's the only way that they could detect the very early stages are through these types of scans. The first symptoms are actually noticed by the individual experiencing Alzheimer's. According to the National Institute on Aging, they may at first just kind of forget where they put something or forget a word here and there when they're talking. But usually no one else really picks up on anything, and they really don't pick up that anything is severely wrong. It seems pretty typical. Stages 2 and 3 of Alzheimer's is kind of that shift where the disease is not interfering with their ability to do daily tasks just yet, just regular living and working. They go from being very independent to really forgetting things all the time and asking the same questions over and over. They might have a lot of trouble making plans or organizing or remembering people's names when they meet them. Stages 4 and 5 of Alzheimer's are kind of a moderate to a moderate severe decline. The individual's symptoms include forgetting details about themselves, maybe forgetting how to write a check or what time it is, the season even. They have trouble remembering their own basic contact information, and they may not remember facts and definitely still repeat the same questions a lot. During the last 2 stages of Alzheimer's, your loved one might recognize faces but forget people's names. They might even mix up people or have delusions such as needing to go pick up Johnny at school. It's kind of difficult in this stage. Your loved one will probably need your help with daily activities such as eating, walking, or even just sitting up. National Institute on Aging states that scientists are still trying to figure out what has caused Alzheimer's. They do think that people with early onset have maybe a genetic mutation that's the cause. A later onset, which is usually in a person's mid-60s, could be a combination of things from genetic, environmental, or lifestyle factors. If you have concerns about possible symptoms, you should really speak to a doctor about it, because memory and thinking concerns could be related to a lot of things, like a stroke or a tumor or Parkinson's disease. It could be as simple as a sleep disturbance, a side effect of a medication or an infection, which are treatable or reversible. Current diagnosis is very difficult, but it needs to be done through a doctor. So it's just important that the earlier you notice things, the better to try to get help. The only real positive diagnosis that can be given is through identifying Alzheimer's through a PET scan, or after someone has died through examining brain tissue and autopsy with clinical measures. If you find your loved one has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, there are medications that could help. And what they do is they regulate the neurotransmitters, which are the chemicals that transmit messages to the neurons. This could prolong a person's symptoms, helping them to maintain their thinking or memory, or maybe even communication or behavioral skills just a little bit longer, although it doesn't change the underlying disease process. Assisting someone with Alzheimer's in managing behavior can be helpful as well. This can be through medications or not, but the common behavioral symptoms for somebody with Alzheimer's include sleeplessness, wandering, agitation, anxiety, and aggression. So helping to manage these symptoms not only makes the person more comfortable, but it can also make things easier for the caregiver. The National Institute on Aging is seeking volunteers to take part in clinical trials to better understand, diagnose, treat, maybe someday even prevent Alzheimer's. The volunteers don't have to be somebody with Alzheimer's. It can be somebody that's known to be healthy. It doesn't matter what your family history is. If you would like to take part in a trial near you or sign up for email alerts, see the above information. Supports and caregivers need to have their own supports for the physical, emotional, and financial aspects of caring for somebody with Alzheimer's. But being well informed about the disease is a really good long-term strategy, just knowing the stages and things. For more information, you can see Caring for a Person with Alzheimer's Disease, an easy-to-use guide from the National Institute on Aging. Remember that you're not alone. The Alzheimer's Disease Education and Referral Center is there for families, caregivers, as well as professionals. They can assist you with treatment, patient care, caregiver needs, long-term care, education and training, or to learn about general research. Staff members will answer the phone or emails and make referrals to local or national resources. Visit their website to learn more. 2 resources for further support for the caregiver are Elder Care Locators and the Family Caregiver Alliance. Don't forget to check out free apps. There's one that's really neat called the Life Bio app. It's free and it can help you to keep your loved one's mind active while you also create a legacy with recordings of their memories and stories. The DSM-5 told me that Alzheimer's is a neurocognitive disorder. That is the technical medical name for it. I used WebMD to find the 7 stages of Alzheimer's disease. Other than that, I used the National Institute on Aging for information and referrals. The Life Bio app I found just searching apps on my iPad. Thanks for listening.